They say an iron vow carves more than flesh. It scars the soul. Cassidy Cade, she learned that young, though she didn't remember much about how. Just a blood-stained blanket, a dark figure, and ears that never stop hurting. This girl was raised on rust and grit. Eventually got stuck on a prison planet where broken people break each other, where the food tastes like regret and the sky don't show stars, just the wreckage of someone else's escape. For 3 years, she scavenged the bones of old wars, piercing together a ship from shattered dreams and stubbornness. One thruster, one vow, and one question that never left her. Where did the other astral elves go? Now, her ship, the Fallen Mercury, it sits. And somewhere out here, on the prison planet of Janus, answers to be found. And one final piece to get this ship going. This is the last astral. Well, hello everybody. My name is Turk, and welcome back to One Guy, One Die. I really appreciate you for joining me on this journey. Welcome back to what I am officially calling the last astral. Now, I'm going to say here at the top, if you did go on ahead and skip the world building, character creation section of this here series, and you've jumped to this video, have no fear. I'm going to cover as much as I need to at the top so we can go on ahead and get right playing. But YouTube jibber jabber, you know the deal. If this series here gets enough likes, then of course I will continue it on for a long time. So make sure to leave a like if you do find enjoyment or entertainment in this series at all. And as a reminder, I do love to take suggestions for story beats and NPC ideas and stuff like that. So do make sure to leave them down in the comments so I can include them in the series moving forward best that I can. And lastly, if you do want to pick up these books or anything you see me using, you can use our Drive-Thru RPG link down in the description to pick up all the stuff. It does help support the show, and it allows me to get more supplements to be able to play with and review and stuff like that right here on the channel. So we appreciate that. Also, I really hope that you enjoyed that intro video that I did. I have decided that at the end of every arc, about every 4 episodes or so, I'm going to do a big recap narrative storytelling thing of the story so far in a way that removes all the game rules and it's just like a story and what's actually happened. I'm going to do videos like that. I started doing them for my previous series, playing some catch up on that, so look forward to it. Today, my friends, we're actually going to get into the story of the last astral. Let's roll. So here we are, back at the top-down camera, ready to begin our story. For those of you guys who missed or decided to skip to this video from the last one, you didn't want to, watch all the world building stuff, that's okay. But what I will say is today we finished off our character in the last episode. We're playing what I'm calling an astral elf, and an astral elf is a super rare species here in the Forge in our world. But her name is Cassidy Cade. And a couple important things about Cassidy Cade is that she was actually taken or lured away from her home, whatever that is, which we don't know yet because astral elves are very foreign, and her actual whole background goal is to discover the truth about astral elves. So she was lured away from her home, and then she was orphaned as a child and kind of grew up on the streets like a street rat, learning how to build and kind of like work on mechanical stuff and make little robots, other kinds of fun stuff like that. But our story is actually going to start with Cassidy Cade. She's actually on a planet. She's actually on a planet called Janus, and Janus is a prison planet. You see, Cassidy Cade got caught up with the wrong people, and well, eventually she got arrested, and she got arrested by one of the factions, one of the prominent factions that are kind of in control of the Forge, and I want to call them something like the Kingdom Order or something like that. If you have an idea for an empire style name for a faction that's kind of taken over a whole section of the Forge of this side of the universe, and they're kind of in supreme rule over everything. So over the course of the episode, I'm just going to call them the Order, but I would love to get a good name from you guys if you have any names, suggestions for what they could actually be called. And it could even be a play on Order, so like Kingdom Order, something Order. I would love that. Just put it in the comments below. But basically, she was arrested by them and dropped on this prison planet called Janus, where they just drop rejects and misfits and other kind of people. And a lot of times on Janus, people actually get forgotten about, like they have no family or no one to come and pick them up, or you know what I mean, to help them leave whenever their sentence is up. So she's kind of just been stuck, and this is tragedy tragedy that has happened to a lot of people, and so all just kind of stuck and living on Janus and surviving, even after their sentences are up. So she's been there for 3 years. I picture she might have got caught up for something small, and she got like a 6-month sentence, right? But she's just been there for all this extra time, kind of like just trying to live. Like on this planet, I think there is a actual prison, like a prison yard where a lot of people are like stuck and stored. And some people have free reign, but I think a lot of the bad criminals are in this prison, and then once your sentence is up, they just let you out the front doors, and then you're just kind of stuck on Janus and have to figure out how to survive. So that is where our story begins. And since we're beginning on this planet, I want to describe it a little bit more. I'm talking, it is a mountainy desert planet, just like full of sand, dirt, bushes, just hills. And one of the other interesting things about this planet that I came up with is that the gravitational pull of this planet actually pulls in a lot of space junk. So like old crashed ships from the war and other kinds of stuff like that just float out to the expanse, to this edge of the forge, and then the gravitational pull of Janus pulls it down to its surface. And so a lot of these structures that we're going to be going to and exploring today are going to be built out of old shipwrecks and just old space junk and like meteors and like random hunks of metal and stuff that has fallen down into the atmosphere, right? Even like in the very first intro that I did for the series, it basically explains that Cassidy has been scavenging ships that have been falling from space for years, trying to make her own ship so she could escape this place. So she's actually scavenging parts and other kinds of stuff, which makes sense because in her backstory, she's actually a gearhead, so she knows a lot about stuff like that. So, on a planet full of rejects and misfits and criminals, our character has been surviving, stuck, scavenging. And I don't think she's gonna want to get revenge on the Order for, leaving people here on the prison planet. At least not yet. It's not enough for her. I think she's definitely trying to stick away from these factions, and these factions are gonna be something we're gonna have to navigate while we're doing our own stuff over the course of the series. So we are going to be making our first move pretty early on, but before we do, I want to set the scene a little bit, because I like my solo series is to play out like visually, like an episode, I like to like bring up scenes. And I think that Cassidy Cade has built herself a little place to live, like in an outcropping of like a cave. She's like built out like some metal stuff and some other kind of, shindigs, and she's inside of this cave, and there's just junk. It's like a little workshop, and there's just like junk and metal pieces and all that kinds of stuff all over the place, and maybe like a little place to like cook some food and stuff like that. And she's like sleeping on this bed that's like mostly just like bags of sand for comfort. It's really not great, because a bed isn't going to fall into the atmosphere, right? So she's kind of doing the best that she can. And I feel like at this point she has a routine. She wakes up every day and does like the same stuff, but when she wakes up today, there's a sparkle in Cassidy's eye, because Cassidy knows that today could be the day where everything changed. The day before, she got a lead, because if we remember, one of the things we actually rolled up is that the fallen Mercury is going to be powered by an ancient precursor device. So as it stands now, she has this ship that she's built over years, but what it still needs is a precursor device to get it powered, to get it moving. And the day before, she got a lead on this precursor device, and so she's finally excited on this day because she thinks that she's going to be able to accomplish it today. So as she wakes up, she's going to, so she also has a robot. If I didn't mention that yet and you skipped the first episode, she has a little robot named Failsafe, and I actually have art of Failsafe that was done by her lovely artist Children of Proteus. I don't have it printed yet because I haven't been to my printer, so I haven't fixed my printer, but I'll put it up on screen right now. This is what Failsafe looks like, and shout out to Children of Proteus. Again, they have their own Twitch channel, their own comic book. They've been doing art for us for a long time. Links down in the description. But this is Failsafe, and I think in the morning, Failsafe has like an alarm that goes off, and I actually kind of want to set up a voice mod for Failsafe. Hold on, let me see if I can do this. All right, all that is set up. So in the morning, Failsafe is what wakes her up, and I think Failsafe, I'm having a hard time coming up with a cool voice for Failsafe, but I think voice mod's going to help us out a lot here. So when she's waking up, what she hears is,
"Mrs. Kate, it is time to wake up."
And she's like, "Oh, Failsafe, is today the day?"
"Yes, today is the day we may escape from Janus."
It's like, yeah, finally. Okay, time to get the day started. And I think even before I describe a little bit about her day and everything, what I want to do is I actually think that we should grow a bond with Failsafe over time. I know that he is like a robot that she built when she was a kid, but I really want to develop their bond together. And so I think what our first move ever in this system is actually going to be is test your relation. So when your relationship with a connection is tested through conflict, betrayal, or circumstance, roll plus heart. If you share a bond, add +1. All right, so actually, I think our first ever roll is going to be to indeed make a connection, because it even says in here that whenever you give focus to an existing relationship, not an ally or a companion, roll plus heart. But I kind of want to develop their relationship anyway. Even though it is technically a companion, I still want to do it, because later we can actually do a progress move to forge a bond with Failsafe. And I think that maybe right now, yeah, they're just our companion that just does stuff for us. But what if it could, develop even more? So we're going to roll, make a connection for our first ever roll ever. And I actually get to showcase my D6 dice for the first time, because in the first episode we didn't do it. But these are really cool, like sci-fi-esque D6 dice. And so each side you can see has a line. So this would be a 3, and this here, this would be a 1, because it has one line going across it. So I thought these were really cool. And I'm an advocate for buying new dice for new campaigns and stuff like that. Very fun. So we're going to make a connection. On a strong hit, we create a connection, give them a roll and a rank. On a weak hit, as above, but this connection comes with a complication or a cost. And on a miss, you don't make a connection and the situation worsens. So I think using this will actually also determine a little bit of where our starting progress with Failsafe is. So on a miss, we'll start with a blank sheet with Failsafe. And we're all going to roll plus heart. Plus heart. And our heart is 2. So that is a 5. What is that number right there? That is an 8. That's a 10. So an 8 and a 10, and then a 5 plus 2 is 7. So we literally got a full miss on our first roll ever. Okay. Which means our track with Failsafe is just going to start at a 0. So for some reason, we built Failsafe and we don't like them. All right, so I wrote down bond with Failsafe. We made this robot. Can we bond with it? Question. So we have that as a relationship track. Noticing now that I actually have this sheet for bond, and I wrote it on this, but that's okay. I'll just know moving forward. Maybe I'll print a new one and get it fixed. So Failsafe woke us up, and I think what she does every day is she puts on her belt satchel that has her little gun in it, and it has a little pouch that just has some of her stuff in it, and she warms up breakfast. And I'm wondering what kind of breakfast we would find on this planet for her to eat. Some kind of plant, some kind of animal maybe that she was eating. And I wish there was a random tables book that I found. And I wish I had enough money to be able to buy the physical version of it, because it has some really cool roll tables. Currently, I can't afford it, but if you guys decide to use the Drive Through RPG link, maybe eventually I'll get there, and it could be super cool, because it's a really, really cool book. But for now, we're going to see if there's anything to help us in here. I found this roll chart in here for creature, and I think this will be a fun one to roll on. So obviously, we're going to choose a land environment creature that we've been eating for breakfast. Let's pick the scale of it here. That is a 17. So it's a small dog-sized creature, and the basic creature form is 23, which is a beast mammal. That's a good roll chart. That gave us nothing. Okay, here we go. Creature first look. My microphone, I'm eating it. Creature first look. It's a 74, multi-jointed, and a 48. Fungal growth. What kind of fungi grows in the desert? So these multi-limbed creatures. So she's for sure warming up a leg of one of these creatures, because maybe they have 6 legs. How many legs they have? D6. They have 6 legs. Yeah, we're literally rolled a D6. 6 legs, and they're fungal. So maybe they're I don't know about complete fungal, but the little flowers that grow on cactuses? Maybe they're these cactus creatures, and they have little flowers that grow on them. I think that's cool. I want a name for these creatures. I'm gonna roll on character names, I guess. 59. They are called Kylar. Cactus creatures called Kylar. So she's cooking these up, getting ready for her day, strapped everything together. I didn't went on a rant about a creature just for breakfast. That's fine. That's what you were gonna expect here. And after she's done getting everything ready, there's one other item that I added to her character sheet that I think that she would have, and I simply called it a skimmer, but my idea was that it's kind of like a speeder from Star Wars, but instead it's just a floating almost like a skateboard or a surfboard that has an engine on the back of it, that propels her forward, and it just kind of floats about a foot off the ground, and it's called a skimmer. And I think that this would be something she would have made for herself during her time on this planet to be able to get point A to point B over the sand. Just makes sense to me. Also super cool. So she's gonna walk over and grab her skimmer, and she's gonna turn back around, and she's like, all right, Failsafe, I'm ready to go. Today could be the day. Fingers crossed. We get to leave Janus once and for all, but it's gonna be a tough day. Are you with me?
You created me, man. I will follow you.
All right, let's go. know, because their bond really isn't like strong, you know what I mean? He's just like, yeah, well, whatever, you made me, so I'll follow you. Okay, so now you're thinking, you're like, okay, Turkey, so what's next then? Where's she going? Where is she headed? Well, my idea for this, okay, there's a precursor device somewhere here on Janus that she needs to get. Where or how or when or what, we don't know yet, because that's the information we need to go find. And I think here on Janus, on top of there being this crazy prison, there's also going to be some kind of, you know, civilization here that was also built out of junk, if it not be just like an old bar, right? There's definitely going to be an old bar, and at this bar they're going to be drinking like really nasty like booze, you know what I mean? There's like that one episode of Firefly where the mudders are drinking like mud booze. That's exactly kind of what I'm thinking here, and it's just made out of junk, and it's just got like shade from the sun, just like out on a hill. Okay, so remember that book I was talking about that I mentioned a couple of times? I realized that I want it and I need it, and I struggle. I've played a lot of fantasy and horror in my days. This is my first time actually doing a full sci-fi adventure, and I kind of struggle coming up with sci-fi stuff. So I went on ahead and I ordered it, friend. Currently, I need to wait like 4 weeks for the physical copy to get here, so we'll get it eventually, but for now I'm going to break my rule, and we're going to be using a PDF a little bit here and there, so that we can, you know what I mean, actually use these roll tables. And if you want to pick this book up for yourself, again, link in description, sports. Okay, we're going to roll to name this bar here on this desert planet. I got a 99, so it's simply called Pitch Black. Okay, so we got Failsafe, and we got our Skimmer, and we're headed to the Pitch Black, which is a bar here on this here planet. The only other thing I want to know before we make our next roll is, actually I'm gonna make a yes or no roll here. Is this bar by itself, or is it inside of a small little settlement? And I'm just gonna call it a 50-50. That's a 33, which is a double. Anyways, which is no, it's not in a little settlement, so it's kind of off by itself. But I'm still gonna picture that it has like maybe a little bit of stables and like a big thing out front that's just full of like nasty water for all the animals that people are riding around on to get from A to B. You know what I mean? It has that out front as well. And I think a big point of this bar also is going to be that a lot of the workers of the order come to this bar. Like they work at the prison and they come to this bar because it's like one of the only places that they can, you know, hang out at and relieve some stress after work here on Janus. All Janus has is Pitch Black, right? I also realized that I did my planet descriptions wrong. They're supposed to each go in one box, but that's fine. So here on Janus, we're actually going to put Pitch Black, so I don't forget them. All right, so that being said, we know that it's out there by itself, and I kind of have a vision for what it's going to look like, but before we get there, we need to get from our cave to Janus. Not to Janus, sorry, to Pitch Black. And I do believe there's a move for this. Exploration moves. Yeah. Undertake an expedition. Is this right? Yeah, so when you trailblaze a route through a perilous space, journey over a hazardous terrain, or survey a mysterious site, give the expedition a name and a rank. I don't think it's that intense of an expedition. Maybe like an hour ride on the Skimmer. Okay, so what makes more sense to me? Also, we're learning as we go. You know, it makes sense. First time I played this system, so I usually play Mythic 5e, so this is 2e, so this is something. Set a course. When you follow a known route through perilous space, across hazardous terrain, or within a mysterious site. So she's been there before. She's following a known course. This makes more sense to me. You roll plus supply, which also makes sense because we're going through the heat of the desert. So we're rolling on supply to make sure we can get there. Also, make sure that the Skimmer has enough power. Whatever it runs on. I wonder what it runs on. That's another question for another time. On a strong hit, you reach your destination, and the situation there favors you. On a weak hit, you arrive but face the cost of or complication, and on a miss, you are waylaid. So that makes way more sense. So we are going to roll plus supply, and our supply is 5. Great, you can see here it's kind of moved because it's dry erase, but boink, there it is. Our supply is 5, so we're rolling plus 5. Actually kind of insane. Okay, first real roll. I'm excited. That is a 2 plus 5, which is a 7. So we got a weak hit here. And on a weak hit, you arrive but face the cost or complication. Choose one. Suffer costs en route, make a suffer move, or 2 suffer moves, or face a complication at the destination and envision what you encounter. Oh no. What does... So I have an idea as to what could happen whenever we arrive, but I think this is actually a fun opportunity to learn a little bit more about the environment. So we're actually going to take 2 suffer moves as small suffer moves. So we're actually going to lose momentum. We're going to lose 1 momentum, and we're going to lose 1 supply. And the way that this happens, I think in my head, is that while she is on the Skimmer with Failsafe, headed up a hill, I think that a desert storm starts. Like she can see this huge dust cloud just like headed her way. And she's got her goggles on her head as she's just going through the wind, and she turns back to Failsafe and she's like, Failsafe, I thought you said that weathers were clear today. And
Miss K, what I've learned about Janus is that the weather here is unpredictable, and it's so hard to determine. I apologize for my failure.
She's like, we're gonna have to update your programming or something, buddy.
I can assure you that my programming is completely up to date.
Okay. She's like, that's fine, Failsafe, but we gotta deal with this right now. And so we're gonna lose a momentum because she's actually going to, I want to see what she might have on her gear, but we're actually already losing supplies, so that doesn't make sense. But maybe it does make sense. Maybe we have to sacrifice something to be able to make it through this desert storm, right? So maybe she pulls out like a tarp. Would she pull out a tarp? She's kind of techie. I don't think she'd pull out. This is also sci-fi, so she probably has some cool device, like one-time use device that'll get us through this. So maybe out of her little pouch she pulls out like this like pole and pushes a button on it, and it extends, and then she stabs it into the ground, and it makes this like 5 foot by 5 foot like little dome for them to sit and wait in while the desert storm passes. So she's actually going to be using one of her supplies, and we're going to be losing a little bit of momentum here. Okay, so that puts us at 1 momentum and 4 supply, but we made it through in a cool way. Alright, so my question is next, before we arrive to pitch black, she's gonna be like, I like to visualize things. So she's on this skimmer, she just got through the desert storm, the dome kind of like releases, and she's gonna take her stick back, but it's like out of charges, I think is what it is. So she's still got her dome stick, she could use dome stick, that's a funny word for that. And she puts it back, and she's on her skimmer, just racing. And as we can see here, this planet roll chart, actually kind of fun stuff. We're here in a desert world, and so we can actually roll some stuff on here. I wanna see a planet side feature. That's a 95, which is descriptor plus focus, page 30 and 31. Okay, I was hoping to just get something from there, but that's okay. So we're doing descriptor plus focus. Here we go. What does this planet have going for it? 45, foul, 75, shelter, foul, shelter. I think foul to me doesn't mean like a smell or like a taste, but foul to me literally means bird creatures. And so I think out of skeletons of old bird creatures, there are little houses made, little like things that people are like living in. So it's like bird structures with like rusted metal like all over the inside of it, and people are living inside of these giant beaks and bird skulls and like bird wings that are just like half out of the sand. That's super cool. Okay, happy I rolled for that because that gives us a lot there. All right, moving forward, we're going to arrive at pitch black, and because of the fact that the settlements are created out of birds, is the pitch black also a giant bird skeleton? I'm gonna call it likely. There's a 19, 25 or less, so yes, it's made out of also a giant bird skeleton, but I imagine that it's bigger, probably more like full and like together, like a big old hawk, and there's like wings, so maybe like around where like the wing skeletons are sticking out of the sand, like that's where the stables are for all these like strange animals that people ride around here on the desert planet, because they're not riding around on camels, but I imagine they're like weird versions of camels, like big old like beasts. And the bird skull itself, maybe it's like eye is like coming out of the sand a little bit, and that's where the door is, and people just call it pitch black, maybe because for some reason the bird skeleton itself is black bones, and so like that's what they call the bird. This is a weird planet. Okay, we've arrived at pitch black. Now the reason I've had this open this whole time is because one of the first things I want to do is make a connection with a new person. My idea is that Cassidy Cade got her lead from this person, or someone told her to go and talk to this person about the precursor device. So I want to know if they've always been friends for a long time, or if this is something new, or you know, what is happening there. So before we even walk into pitch black, we need to know more. So make a connection. It's not an ally or a companion, so we're going to be rolling plus heart, and we have plus 2 heart. Very good. That is a 4. We've got a 3 and a 5. Man, that's close. That's real close. Can you even see that on camera? Yeah, enough. So we got a weak hit. So as above, we do create a connection. We're going to give them a roll and a rank. Whenever your connection aids you on a move closely and associated with their roll, add +1 and take +1 momentum on a hit. On a weak hit, as above, but this connection comes with a complication or cost. Envision what they reveal or demand. Oh, okay. But we're going to give them a rank and a roll. And there is actually, I also see now, I just found it in the roll charts, there's a lot more for factions in here. So we're going to have to roll up some information on the order once we get for sure. Okay, so we're going to roll for a roll for this character before we give them a rank. And I've got character roll chart here. That is 12. A courier. So we have a courier friend. So So we have a courier friend, and their first look towards us is 94. Wiry. We have a wiry courier friend. 69 for initial disposition. Why are they desperate for? What is their goal? The secret goal? That's a 3. It almost looks like a fight injustice. So they're here on Janus. They're wiry, desperate, and they want to fight injustice. So if they want to fight injustice, this could be a good ally, is what I'm thinking. I want to make this a dangerous, so it's not too hard to achieve a good connection with them. They're a courier though, which means maybe they like deliver mail here on Janus, or they at least deliver messages. So maybe they even deliver maybe they deliver drinks and like food over to the prison. And so maybe while they were there, they heard something over the radio, and so they sent us a message basically like, Cassidy, tomorrow meet me at pitch black. I've got some information. I heard maybe where a precursor device might be, and so now we're meeting them here. What is their name? Oh, well, first of all, I should roll to see, are they male or female? We'll do highs for female. That is a 89, so they're female courier. Are they human? I'm going to call it really likely, so anything under, what is really likely? Likely is 75 or as a 13. Yeah, so they're a human female courier, and we're going to find us a name. So roll charge. Let's roll for it. My friend's is a 74. Their name is Tionne. Tionne. Okay. I also didn't make it this far in the book, but it also says next thing you're supposed to do is introduce a sector trouble. So I guess we can do that. There's something going on here at Janus. 66 is religious zealots are overrunning the sector. What? Okay. Is it like the people of Janus? Because if we said in our first little episode here, the people of Janus have actually been pushed out to Aurora, and the order was like, we're going to let you guys live out there while we take over your planet to be for prison. So what if, yeah, all right. Well, that's just extra detail. Anyway. Oh, see, I actually hadn't made it this far. Envision inciting incident, set the scene. Wow, so we've already been doing this. Make a move. Okay, I guess one last thing before we get to go into pitch black. A lot of homework in this first episode, apparently. And that's okay, because we're still building the world and building things that are happening around us. I'm just happy that I'm here, rolling dice, hanging out with you, telling a fun story, Sheesh. By the way, if you haven't subscribed yet, you should. Just saying. Okay, so we need to make an iron vow, is what I'm reading in this book. It's one, I guess, important thing that I missed, and I think that that's okay. And our first actual iron vow, and we're going to cut back to the beginning in the cave. Before she leaves with her skimmer, she's going to sit down on her knees on the ground and meditate. And she's going to think to herself, we are going to escape Janus. We're going to live free. I hate it here. And then, as if told by someone in her dream that if she wants something hard enough, she will be assisted in that goal if she swears on it and she cuts her ear. And she's going to do that. And our first actual small iron vow is going to be to escape Janus. So we're going to write it down, we're going to give it a rank, then we're going to roll plus heart. All right, difficult has a 4 and a 7. We're rolling plus heart, so that's a plus 2. Whew, it has a strong hit. That is 6 plus 2, which is an 8. That's the first strong hit we've gotten. Dude, exciting. You are emboldened, and it's clear what you must do. Next, take plus 2 momentum. Yeah, okay, so that would have been helpful earlier. So we'll need to remember. Okay, so dangerous 2 whole box. So this is also going to be dangerous, as we can see here. Fill out 2 whole boxes, and the goal is to get to the end, and before we get to the end, we can actually roll a progress move, which we'll get to that when we get to that, but that's that. I'm trying my best to play this system as close to this system as I can, because I've played so many other solo systems. This is one I've never experimented before, so I want to give it its, everything it's got, so I'm doing my darndest, but in my own way still, because that's the way you should. Okay, and on a strong hit, we get extra momentum, which is wonderful. So we still did lose 1 earlier. We're keeping that loss, but this puts us at 3, which I think is pretty shit. Yes, okay. Everything else look good? Yes, indeed. All right, so we have sworn our vow to escape this place. All right, so Iron Vow done. And I think during the whole Iron Vow process, I don't think she notices it, but I think she gets like a little bit of a glow about her, Because as we spoke about, astral elves and the whole Iron Vow process is like a magical thing that she kind of goes through here. So she cuts her ears, and now she's got, on one of her ears, she's got 1 long cut. It's kind of scarring and kind of old because it's from her background vow. Discover the truth about astral elves. And then she's got 1 little more nick to explain her vow of wanting to leave Janus, right? So she's she's going to, finally, we get to approach pitch black, and we see this blackened bird skull. And this is like the morning time, right? And we only spent like an hour of travel after she woke up early to get here. So I don't know how many people are going to be around here in the morning, which I think is a plan. This was done on purpose by her and the courier, so none of the order would be here and none of the other crazy people would. So we're just gonna walk up to the door and walk right in. And I picture it's like a scrap door with like a big turny wheel on it, and she yanks on the wheel and opens it up and goes on the inside. And I think there's like a bunch of just like things like made out of old rusty scrap metal and like ship parts and stuff, and there's like crazy lights and other kinds of just like beeping noises stuff. And I think there's like one, I picture him, he's like a really big kind of overweight guy behind the bar, and he sees Cassidy and he just puts his head down. She looks over, I think there's going to be a booth, and I think the booth is made out of like an old engine part that has like a piece of metal on top of it, and there's just a bunch of buckets around it that they can sit on, like old rusty metal buckets, probably from the water trough outside. And I think, what was her name? This is why we write things down. Tionne. Tionne's already there, sitting, waiting. I'm gonna ask a couple questions about Tionne as we describe what she looks like. Is she young or is she old? And I think higher the roll, the older she is. That an 89? That's an 89. She is a very wiry 89-year-old human woman. She wants to fight injustice, so she's been wronged at some point in her life. I think maybe this woman, she's kind of older and wiser, and she's been through a lot. Maybe there was something that just happened recently that had her have a little bit of a change of events, a little bit of change of a pace in her life. And so maybe she kind of like took a liking to Cassidy when she first met Cat here on the planet. Did they meet while Cassidy was still a prisoner? 50-50. Oh, I flipped it. That was 4. Is that 0-4? That would be 0-4. That is an extreme yes. So they met while Cassidy was a prisoner. So that means that Tionne was a courier still delivering things. Maybe she, while she was delivering at the prison, met Cassidy and seen her. Does Tionne know that she's an astral elf? I mean, she has to, right? 50-50. That's a 30. So yeah, she knows she's an astral elf. So maybe when she first seen her, she was like, oh, I haven't seen someone like you in a long time. So anyway, she's old and she's wiry, and she kind of likes Cass. She's trying to help her out. So she's going to sit down, and Cass say, hey, Tionne, I got your message yesterday and I'm here. I'm ready. God, am I ready? I want to leave Jane so bad. And Tionne's, yes. Well, I was delivering a message to the prison and I overheard some information. My brain's already racing. Like, I already think I know what is what, but I think in this system, we need to make a move. Okay, so we're actually going to make a gather information move. And since we're doing it with Tionne, we can get a +1 to our roll, and we get to roll plus wits. And our wits is 2. So we're going to get a +3 to this roll. And it's going to kind of tell us the extent of this information. Like, how good is this information on this precursor? Is it, it's going to tell us a little bit. So let's go ahead and give us a roll. That's a 5 + 3, which is an 8. And that's a 1 and a 5, which makes it a strong hit. On a strong hit, you discover something helpful and specific. The path you must follow or action you must take to make progress is made clear. Envision what you learn. Take another +2 moment. Hoping that all these are going to come in handy later, because that's going to put us up at... And that's why I did it with dry erase. Because it's so back and forth. Okay, and I'm also wondering, does coming to pitch black move our Vow forward to escape Janus? Like, we made it here, and now we're talking to her, and we have this information. So does this move it forward? Do those things move it forward? Getting the information on the precursor device, etc. Quest moves, reach a milestone. When you make headway in your quest by overcoming an obstacle, gaining insight, completing an expedition, acquiring a crucial item, earning vital support, defeating a notable foe, you may also mark progress per the rank of the vow. So I think so. I mean, like, we've got the information, we've came here, these are things that we're kind of like doing. I don't want to give a full mark for just coming here, but it was a perilous expedition gate, but we're going to go on another one, so we'll see how that 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we got the information on the precursor mark 2. Nice. It's cool to see that, I don't crazy. Let me be crazy. Let me roll my dice, okay? Chee! Oh, I'm doing that. All right. So we got our information, and it's good information. Like, she learned some shit. So I think Cassidy's going to look right at Tionne and be like, oh my goodness, type of deal. But I want to roll on some random roll charts here to figure out what the heck is what. And also, I think, good. So our PDF has a chart in it just called Technobabble, and I think that that's really good. And so I'm actually going to roll on this Technobabble to get a name of this precursor precursor device, because if this is great information, we have to know the name of this device. I mean, also Cassidy probably knows the name. He's probably been searching for it already. So what is the name of this device here? That's a 58 hydrogen 8 injector. So it's a precursor device called a hydrogen injector. Precursor. Hydrogen injector? At least that's what Cassidy's going to use it for. You know what I mean? Okay, so what is this information? Okay. Core oracles. I may roll on this a few times, but we're going to see how it goes. At 18, challenge. 26, discovery. Challenge, discovery. 36, engulfed creation. Challenge, discovery. Engulfed creation. Challenge, engulfed. Who is our challenge? What is our challenge? The order is our challenge. An engulfed creation. Okay, so what if Tionne was delivering and she heard one of the people of the order talking, and maybe on the side the order's been doing some kind of mining thing here on Janus to figure out things and find stuff. Maybe because they're doing this mining, that's why the Zealots have been overrunning this whole sector, and while they were doing this mining thing, they discovered something that was engulfed. It's a creation that was engulfed of a natural force. Sweep over some so as to surround or cover it completely. Eat or swallow something whole. Engulf some. So what if the sand had completely engulfed precursor ship, and from their mining escapades they found this precursor ship down underground that had crashed there a long time ago, and Tionne thinks that she might be able to find this hydrogen injector on this ship, because the ship's kind of, maybe it's like they found it was untouched, it hasn't been scrapped yet, no one's been there stealing parts from it yet, and she's like, this is grade A information too. So does she have the location of the mining place? Maybe Tionne got a little snapshot of, she took a picture of like their map, so maybe that's the main information. She tells her where the crash site is, and she slides a disc across this metal. She goes, Cassidy, on this disc is a map that will lead you to the mine, to the crash site of the ancient precursor ship, and there you should be able to find what you need to leave Jane. If you go, please don't forget about it. I too want to fight for all injustice, and what has been done to you being left here for 3 years is unjust. I think Cassidy's like, she's like, okay, Tionne. I stopped for a second because I'm reading. I'm like, since we did a gather information and a formal social interaction, we also should have gotten a +1 from Failsafe. And on a strong hit with a match, you learn something which builds understanding, or also mark 1 tick on your bond's legacy. So Failsafe really wasn't involved in this conversation at all. So I think because of the fiction, I don't even want to use this bonus, but I do want to remember it for later, because we should get an extra tick on our bond's legacy track with Tionne. Which also, since we succeeded in that, we're going to go on ahead and mark that up as well, which I'm curious. I mean, you advance at any time you get good information and everything else. So is it the same with bonds? I'm very curious. I'm still learning this system. I've actually been reading the rules a lot so far in the recording. This recording is very, very long. I'm sure it won't be for you, but it is for me. I'm just taking my time, having fun and enjoying myself, reading the rules. That's kind of what it's all about, right? I'm sure I've made some mistakes, but whatever. It's been working so far. Okay, I forgot where I was. Where was I? She slides over the map, and I think Cassidy's going to tell her, like, hey, look, the reason I'm bumping this up, it was a success here. And she's like, you gave me this information, and in return, I can help you leave Janus. You want to go. Does Tionne want to leave? 50-50. That is a 38. Yeah, she wants to go. She's like, that would be wonderful, Cassidy, please. Sorry, wrong voice. That would be wonderful, Cass. Please, don't forget about me. She's like, okay, all right, I'll come back for you. And I think she stands up, and while we're here at the bar, is there anything else we can do before we chart a course? Any kind of recovery moves? We really don't need to recover. We could resupply. When you attempt to bolster your readiness, envision the opportunity in your approach. So I think she's just going to approach the bartender. She's going to sit down, and she's going to ask for some drink. And as I said before, I envision it as like mud beer, but I'm wondering what kind of drink. Descriptor 98. Well, untamed doesn't really seem it. Some kind of untamed drink. Untamed, maybe drink from untamed animals. Maybe they found a way to turn the juice from the cactus creatures, the Kylor, into some kind of alcoholic drink. They found a way to ferment it. So maybe it's like Kylor juice or something, like cactus juice, basically fermented cactus juice. That sounds. And she's gonna take a drink, and she's gonna talk to him a little bit. I think we're gonna barter or make an appeal, because I think it'll be important to get another charge for our dome stick, which I'm going to keep calling it our dome stick. I'm probably even going to write it down as domest, right? So we're just going to say, hey man, so I'm looking to, get a couple batteries real quick just so I can charge up my dome stick. He's like, dome stick? What you got a dome stick for? Look, I don't ask questions. I know you, Cassidy. Let's roll to see. Dome stick. That's it. Ooh, that's a 1. We're rolling plus heart, which is 3. But hey, we got a weak hit. You must first deal with a cost, complication, or demand. Envision the nature of this obstacle. He's probably like, well, I'm bored, Cassidy. Do something fun. This game is so interested to me. It's not at all how I usually play. So I'm just wondering, am I allowed to just... If she's like, okay, fine. I bet you I can drink a thing of cactus juice faster than you can. And can I just roll on iron? And... That's a 7, and then that was a 2 and a 4, so that's a strong hit. So I got a strong hit rolling against iron to slam back these drinks, and he's like, alright, I think that's pretty good, that's fun, here are your batteries. And then she gets her batteries. Like, am I allowed to do that? Because that's what I want to do, but there isn't really anything in this book about skill checks like that. It's all moves, right? So does that count as a move? What kind of move would that be? Because that's the way that I want to play. Is that endure harm? No. Endure stress? Okay, well I guess that's what I'm gonna go with, because like I've said in a bunch of my review videos, play the way that you think that you should play. I'm just questioning myself because I really want to play this game as close to rules as I can, so I'm second guessing. This is the first time I've just played a brand new game. So usually I have lots of experience in the games, like on my Walking Dead thing, I knew that system back and forth, so I had no issues, but you know, we're getting there. Okay, well what I want to do before we go also is I want to roll to Harton. I want to socialize. I think before she heads off, she's got her battery, she's going to spend some time hooking the batteries into her stick, and while she does that, she's going to be sitting at the table with Tionne and with Failsafe. She's going to pull Failsafe out, and she's going to tell Failsafe everything that's going on. She's like, okay, Failsafe, so we have what we need, and we have the map, so are you with me? We're going to get off this dang planet.
Miss Kate, I will follow you to the end of this world.
And then she's going to talk a little bit with Tionne a little bit more, and I really just want to use that as an excuse to roll on Harton, just to see how that goes. And we roll plus heart again, which is plus 2, so that is 4. But since we're in this social situation, we actually get to use Failsafe's ability, so we get a plus 1 again, so that's going to make it a 5, which is going to make it a weak hit. Still better than nothing. We don't get any pluses from Tionne because this isn't dealing with our relationship. On a weak hit, as above, we're going to find companionship and comfort, and our spirit is strengthened. If you are shaken, clear the impact, take 1 spirit. Take 2 spirit. If you move as you sojourn, take 1 more. We don't. But this indulgence is fleeting. Envision an interruption, complication, or inner conflict, then lose 1 momentum. Okay, so everything does have a risk. So I think what I'm learning here is you shouldn't just roll on things to make things happen, because there is a risk to everything. So even though I wanted to grow my bonds with, so I think on a weak hit, instead of taking spirit, I want to take a tick with Fails. Just we could bond with him a little bit as well. But we're going to lose 1 momentum. And so I think in the middle of this, I think the order is going to stomp into the bar. And we're like, all right, time to go. This is over. Okay, it's about a little bit after noon, and Cassidy Cade steps out of the pitch black. She's got a disc with a map on it. She's got a lead to a precursor device. Finally, get off this planet. Floating out the door behind her, I think, is Failsafe. He's got a smirk on his emoji face. She walks over to the stables and grabs her skimmer. It felt appropriate, she thought, to put her skimmer there where all the animals and stuff were. She didn't want to have to drag it in the bar anyway. I think she's going to, at this point, she's got her skimmer. She's going to hold the map disc in her hand, and she's going to pull out her sonic wrench. She's going to beam at the thing to open it. And it's going to open up, and it's going to project a map of this here sector of Janus. And before we can start a new trek to where we're planning to go, we need to know how far it is. How far away is mine? And I do think in this situation, this is going to be undertaking an expedition. So when we trailblaze a route through perilous space, journey over hazardous terrain, or survey a mysterious site, we're going to give the expedition a name and a rank. This is going to be the journey to the mine. Then for each segment of the expedition, envision your approach. So we need to figure out how far away this mine is so we can figure out what kind of journey it's going to be. Is this like a whole episode kind of journey? Or is this like just a quick little journey to get us to the mine, kind of, right? It's kind of what we need to know here. So how many? There are 5 different ranks. I wish there was a way for me to just roll up, or I wish there was 6 ranks. If there was 6 ranks, that would, but what we're going to do is we're going to roll a d6 to determine the rank of this journey. That is a 6, which there is not a 6 on. So if it's a 6, I guess I could just re-roll. That is a 2. So on a 2, it's a dangerous journey. So journey to the mine. And I'm thinking it's almost like, it's probably like a hidden mining site, the Order is, because maybe what the Order is doing is a little bit illegal. I'm for sure going to need more of those pages. Just learning, and that's totally fine. Okay, I want to learn more about the Order is what I want to do. So we've got a lot of really cool roll charts here about the Order itself, and we can put all this information about the Order into our lore. So the first thing is on this faction is faction type. Obviously they're a Dominion, because they put people in prisons, so they're a Dominion. They're a governing power is what this faction, the Order, is. But now let's roll on influence to see how far in the Forge their influence kind of reaches. Is it just around here in this sector? Which I don't think it is. It has to at least be on another planet. That's a 77, which is a double. How did doubles work in this system again? Okay, so I googled matches, and they're only whenever you make moves, so in this situation it doesn't do much. Same with earlier, we were just doing a discovery and got a match, so all is well. So 77 anyway is notable, so dispersed influence across a few sectors. So the Order is out there. They got a lot going on, but not an insane amount. Like, they're not taking over everything. What is their Dominion? Why are they doing what they're doing? That is a 31. I don't like that, so I'm gonna go ahead and re-roll. Let's see here. That is a 65. Mysticism. Their Dominion is mysticism. Belief that union with or absorption into the deity or the absolute or the spiritual apprehension of knowledge inaccessible to the intellect may be attained through contemplation and self-surrender. Its belief characterized by self-delusion or dreamy confusion of thought, especially when based on the assumption of occult qualities or mysterious agents. So for the Order in my head to be that way, that doesn't really make sense, but I think we need to go with the dice on this one. So there's some kind of god that the Order follows. Could even be a person that the Order follows. Do they follow a person? That is a 90. So no, they don't follow a person. Do they follow a god? That's a 41. Yes, they follow a god, and they have complete and utter belief over this said god. And even in mysticism, it says, I imagine it's some kind of like monks, but I'm going to do the complete opposite. So they're not like meditating. Well, maybe they do meditate, actually. They meditate to their god. And people that don't believe in their god, they like don't care, but they're like very oppressive, you know what I mean, to anyone who doesn't believe the Order. I imagine the Order in like stormtrooper suits, but now I'm definitely not imagining the Order in stormtrooper suits. Now I'm imagining them as like bald, like they're all bald. Maybe they have like tattoos and even like synth, like tech gear and stuff in their head. Maybe they don't have tech gear, and maybe the Order actually against tech, and they believe in, maybe their god is the true belief of like the natural, and that's why they're mining here on this planet, because they're like no technology, like they're big time against, like almost like Amish people almost, I think, but they're like bald, they've got like tattoos, but like tattoos, like not good ones, like tribal ones, you know what I mean? Let's keep going. They have a guild. Do they? 63 is a guild of mystics. Okay, so that kind of reinforces all of that. But since they believe in older time, maybe they're like herbalists and stuff. Like they do things naturally, like potion brewing witches. And then 84 for their fringe group. So they're scavengers. Scavengers of natural resources who believe in a god. And what is their current project? Disrupt the operations of a ritual. So they're gathering up materials to disrupt something. This also kind of makes sense if like, this means that they could literally be fighting with, maybe they are the Zealots that are overrunning the sector. I know I already said that maybe it was the natural people, but maybe the Order literally is the Zealots that are overrunning the sector. So maybe like they just had the prison, you know, and they would put people in prison who did bad things on their planet and figured they could learn something from being away from technology. And so that's why they banished them to, you know what I mean, a planet with none. But now the Zealots are overrunning the first Zealots. So the Order is overrunning this planet because of this mine. So there's a bunch more here current. So the Order is just overrun this whole planet. So it's not the people who are here first, it's the Order themselves. I can't wrap my head around the mysticism, really. I don't know what god that they would be worshipping. So if you have ideas, leave them in comments. If you made it this far in the video, I appreciate yeah, name template. So you already have the Order. Let's do their identity. Phantom. Their identity is Phantom. It's like their logo. It's like a phantom. Affiliation. Order is right here. So we can do, unless you guys come up with a better name in the comments, I got 30, which is the Silver Order. Maybe they're mining silver. Oh, they could be mining silver. Their quirk here, guided by superstitions or prophecy on a 32. Yeah, so that's what it is. It's mysticism over superstition about technology. Maybe there's a prophecy that like 2K kind of prophecy where technology is going to rise up against us and everything. So like if they were to see Failsafe, they'd be like, oh no, right? And so maybe, I'm trying to wrap my head around why Cassidy would have gotten arrested, like what she would have done wrong, what law she would have broken to the Silver Order for them to ship her here. I guess we're gonna have to roll up that later, but very interesting. All right, I enjoyed that a lot. I'm gonna put all that in my notes. Okay. After the Silver Order runs into the pitch black, we now stand outside, looking at our map and looking at just these sandy hills that just go on forever. We've got a trek ahead of us. We've got an adventure we must go on. We have everything that we need, and I think Cassidy's going to look over at Failsafe, and she's going to say, "Are you ready, buddy?" And then he goes,
Ready when you are.
and she throws down her skimmer, and they hop on it, and just with dedication in her eyes, she begins the trek and races through the sand. And I think this is a pretty good introduction episode. We obviously didn't achieve a lot, but we made some moves, we developed some lore, there's a lot going on. I'm still learning this system, so there's a lot I'm gonna have to cut out of this this episode, but it's fun. I hope you're learning along the way as well, and I'm gonna try to put all of this stuff in the Google Doc of notes whenever this episode goes live. So if you want to check out everything that I came up with and everything I solidified, you can check out the Google Doc of notes down in the description of today's episode. That's right. I do think the next episode might not be coming out for an extra week because I am taking a little bit of vacation, but that's okay because it will come back the following week after that, unless I can manage to record and edit it before which I might do that tomorrow. I don't know. You don't know. Who knows what's going to happen? No one knows the future. Anyways, I'm talking too much. Yes. Thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you. Make sure, remember to hit like if you enjoyed today's episode and subscribe so you don't miss anything. Yeah? And roll initiative. Take a seat on the couch for a little while. I can't talk today. Thanks for watching. I've been Turk. See you in the next